Judgment is based off the language of going into the wrestle as contention. This is all the contention. This is the vibration of contention, which renders down as adjudication or self description or self-inspection is all in contention. This is compassion right here. This is the product of knowing what it is. Now this is the journey. This is all the journey right here. This, when this comes in to seal this vessel as no longer in the partial, that is now, love is now made as one sounding. This is resolved in its equation of vibration. This now sounds as profundity. It's the deep. It's now, you don't know, you're centered, you're done, you are sealed. That arc, that door is closed. It's been open for a while. And now when this comes down, that arc is done. That arc is sealed as a sphere, as fused, as nestled, as nested, as seated. This is wedlock now. This is the conclusion of the master begets the wife. The wife now begets the master. You have made love consummated as one constitution. You are sound resonance. Okay.
Before you leave off of Cabal, can I just the collapsing and the refilling?
Yes.
I wanted to point out something, and I'm hoping this is not going to take it off track, but it keeps coming back because this is also the same word of what we know in the natural as the Cabal.
Yes.
So what you're doing is you are collapsing it and bringing it in right order, because there is part of the definition that I didn't hear you say about bringing destruction.
Yeah. Well, the collapsing.
I know. Hold just a sec here. So the Cabal. So if anybody's wondering where they get that word, what the Cabal is, that is this. That is this word.
Yes.
And when it says about binding or making a pledge or taking an oath or doing things in secret, we are actually talking about the Cabal. The Cabal, based upon everything that you're saying, the whole purpose of why the Cabal that we've been dealing with in the negative sense is because we haven't risen our own mass to become the Cabal.
Yes.
So what have they done?
They're sovereign sentencing over you.
Yes. But here's a secret thing that's within this word. The Cabal, having a left-hand staff of authority, are actually are operating in Hub, love.
Love. Yes.
Love's authority.
Yes.
So in other words, when we want to judge what the Cabal is doing, they are prodding, poking, sticking, stinging us so that we would rise our own mass and get out of the 2D docket and come into the waters as well to take back our own authority.
Yes.
Like the purpose, if you don't have an antagonist in the story, how can one ever become the hero?
Yes, and I comprehend what you're saying. Huba would be doubly built. So yes, I mean.
But Hub is
the root of it.
The root of it.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It means love.
Yes, this is, yes.
Love's authority.
Yeah, there is still control in love. There is still manipulative love. There's no trust in control or hidden. And it's like being in a relation. I hear what you're saying, exactly what you're saying.
I'm saying it's a catalyst. So in other words, we don't have to point the finger at them and say, oh, those bad people. What we can say is it's a catalyst for us to rise up into everything that you're sharing, that the one that holds the ropes is no longer them, it's us. The one who erects the mast is us, it's not them.
Yes, nobility is reached by realizing this. This is why this is being shared. Absolutely. Again, it goes back to the language. Until you know how to sovereignly sentence yourself, most likely you have a sovereign sentencing over you.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to bring this up.
So again, we've relinquished our own, until we can collapse on ourselves, until we can fully go into the language of consummation as consumption and break down our own boundaries to fill them back up, then we will be in this place of control.
Right.
Now,
and so when we've chosen to have a government over us governing our mind, that's why things have been allowed to happen.
Yeah,
because we're needing to learn to stand in our own sovereignty so that we don't need a government over us.
Yeah, regardless of I don't really focus on what they do. I mean, I was in it for long enough to see that I could see the broadcasting of what they're doing as a projection, but I don't want to focus on that.
I know you didn't. I'm wanting to collapse it.
Yeah. So yes, and so it only is what it is to the individual. The Cabal is only a system of control, and if we can see it correctly, then it's giving you opportunity to come out of it by creating your own spherical surrounding, your own protection, your own dimension. You are now a being. You're now God in the earth, and you can create your own reality, and you're untouchable. That's what I'm trying to create this. You are your maiden voyage. You're now the virgin, untouched. And in that language, again, it's Amanu, right? Amanuel. You are now the language. You've already done that share time, that you pledged yourself, right? Pledge again. If I'm in contract with a spouse, the language of contract is based on the language of pledge. I pledge myself to that. I see what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I pledge myself to that. And now I'm moving in the sanctum of ceremony back to the sacred. I'm moving into that vibration. So yeah, Habal, regardless, we can see it a couple different ways. Either it's still the oppressor upon you, and you can get frustrated if you choose, or you can simply just laugh at it and go like, oh, wow, it simply is this. And it's just an opportunity for me to move in my own nobility. And until I do that, there will be a noble over me. I will be a serf to the husband.
So what happens is, chet also means to be separated. Bet lamed, having an inverted heart with fear and terror.
Yes, you're no longer.
So the Cabal, if what you're talking about with an impregnation and creating seed for germination for something to mature, until we get in that place, we have given our authority to another to impregnate us with fear and terror.
If we so choose.
I'm just saying that that's the other side of it.
That's the other side of it.
So when we operate in love's authority and find life by building ourselves on the inside and having that staff of authority as a sailor of our own vessel, we are in mastery and lordship.
Yes.
So in other words, the seed that we will be sowing won't be creating fear or anxiety or terror. It will be creating lords and masters.
If it's done correctly, the whole idea is to create nobility, is to raise ourselves back up from the deposition back to nobility. Yes. And so, yes, I mean, again, my head doesn't go to the controllers anymore because I'm trying to release the potential. But yes, and I appreciate there is a reality that I've distanced myself from because I don't give it any authority. All it was a placeholder until I took the position. And so I can say it that way.
But there's many that are not there yet.
No, I know that. I'm aware of that.
That's why I wanted to give some steps.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The same vibration of this word, and to connect that, we'll just write it this way. Give me two colors here. Give me the blue. So Habal. Yeah, it's a mystery to find out how to build yourself. And until you know how to build yourself, you're going to be partial. You're not going to know. You're going to have to wrestle. And there's nothing wrong with the wrestle. So there's a ball right there in the same vibration of this word, the master. But this is the word we have, Zada and the Tav, and this connection is desire of covenant. But that's the only two occurrences of this word, and it means the rose. And this is in Song of Solomon, the rose of Sharon, and that's how you spell it. So the master is actually hidden in the rose, but the rose needs to know how to rise.
So it's letting you know that there's a journey to be made on the inside.
You have to hunt and chase and seek and desire to have a longing to build love. Right. You do not build love without desire or longing. You must, because some of this language right here in the negative is lust. There's lust for power and position. And some of this Habal in the negative has gone this way. Instead of going to the right or the starboard, they went right to the port, to the window, and they went up this way. They erected the mast this way. This mast was only meant to be erected one way, that way.
Right. And that's why in the standing of the north, it's the hidden, right?
Right.
So you have that left hand, the hidden hand that went the left way, which is all ego, all power, dominance,
control,
manipulation. they're hidden.
Yeah.
And then we come around and go into the hidden spot.
Yes.
But we came in with our light in order to reveal the hidden of the dark hand.
Yes, absolutely.
So you can see how if we don't take the journey on the right hand path, how can we ever take the left hand back?
You never will.
You can't.
You can't. It's a law, and that's the part that, again, this goes into deception, because, and I don't want to go into that, because that's what they believe, that no one will do this. Because why? Because they've created such a pretty prison system that you're actually in love with it. Like, why would you? And most people aren't going to look anywhere, because, like, why? We're living in the land of liberty.
Well, that's because without erecting the mast, you've sealed yourself in as a 2D.
You've sealed yourself, and that's what they look at you. They look at you as inanimate. You are simply a docket on that. You're still attached. You are not mature enough to go venture into the sea. You don't have the skill set. You're not Chabal. You're not a sailor. It's the same word for pilot or sailor. And so what is a pilot? Because it's the mast, in the sense of furnishing with ropes. It's the pledge of a bind. It's a sailor and a pilot. And so we have this language of stays again, and pilot. So what is a pilot? One who steers the ship.
Right.
Right?
So if you're not going to steer it,
someone will.
You'll have a sovereign sentencing
over you. That's the point when I say that. So so Earthship produces spaceship. When they come together, you now have starship. You are now interdimensional, right? Because you've now entered dimension upon dimension is now interdimensional, and now I'm starship, and this is all Merkaba.
We're taking ourselves as seated in heavenly places and dropping it down.
These are collapsing. I only had to separate to say, that's the maiden voyage of impregnation that produces the heir, the progeny. It's a sheen on a sheen, right? It's the language of a sheen on a sheen that mirrors itself, and the walk of inculcation is the walk of fire. And I find it interesting that the word for pilot is where we get, so it's the steerer of the ship, and it's the one who is in charge of the helm. Well, that's Dharma.
Right.
In Hindu. Right. Dharma means the law of the helmsman. Right. So we can connect that religion or that faith to this, to say Dharma knows it's got both hands on the wheel and it's steady as she goes. I'm a master of my own sea, right? The master of my own dominion. Right. And so helm, by definition, is from the ped, is where we get the word foot from. So the footman must journey through compassion to know to endure the course of action to fulfill the head, because this is the admiral, and it's the same word for headship of chief, which is where we get the word Rashid from. Mm-hmm. So you're no longer in deposition of surrendering nobility. Nobility is now back on you. You sovereignly sentence over yourself as a sovereign nation. Once again, God's some assembly required. By the journey of the footman, the horseman is now billed to chariot, Merkaba. Rakab, I now sit in the saddle of my seat and I direct my starship. That kind of a language. And I'm not when I say that, it's all through the language. Their language of transport was limited based on to saddle and chariot, because that was the vehicle of intention, Rakab, that goes to Merkaba. But it means to rise into the seat. You must build this by the journey of the bloodied feet. The head shall rise, and therefore now nobility is in the elevated place of heirship again.
Right. And so for people who don't know the word Merkaba, it's your light body.
It's your light body.
So when you're saying building a star ship, what you could actually say is a plasma energy being in negentropy. You are full of the light of the sun. Yep. Because the sun is a star.
However,
so that's that.
However, the Shemesh, you built the sun. This is sonship.
Right. So here's one sheen, here's the other sheen, and here's the mem in the middle.
Yes.